There's a strange kind of praise that wounds. You're so mature for your age. You're so responsible. You never cause any trouble. And somewhere deep inside, a child learns that their worth lives in shrinking themselves. This is the quiet origin story of those who grew up too fast, not by choice, but by necessity. Psychology calls it parentification, when a child becomes the emotional anchor of a home that should have anchored them. They learned to read moods before they could read books. They became small adults in small bodies, carrying weight that was never theirs to hold. And the world applauded them for it, but no one asked what it cost. Before we explore these rare traits, I want to pause here. If any of this feels familiar, take a breath. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments at what age did you first feel like you had to be the strong one. The first trait is a kind of invisible radar. Children who grew up too fast develop an almost uncanny ability to sense emotional shifts. They walk into a room and immediately scan for tension. They notice the pause before someone speaks, the tightness in a smile. This isn't intuition, it's hypervigilance. Their nervous system learned early that safety depends on prediction, so they became experts at reading what was never said. The second trait looks like strength, but it's often protection. These individuals become fiercely independent. They don't ask for help, not because they don't need it, but because needing felt dangerous once. They learned that relying on others leads to disappointment, so they built walls and called them boundaries. And they convinced themselves that needing no one was freedom, when really it was fear wearing a different mask. Here's the strange thing. They often become the ones everyone leans on. The friend who always listens, the partner who always gives, the colleague who holds everything together. But rarely do they let anyone carry them, because deep down, they believe their role is to give peace, not to receive it. This caretaking instinct isn't generosity. It's a survival pattern disguised as love. The fourth trait is harder to name. Sometimes when something good happens, love, success, stillness, they feel uneasy. Not because they're ungrateful, but because their nervous system associates calm with the moment before chaos. Happiness can feel like a debt that will eventually be collected. So they stay alert, even in safe rooms, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And finally, there's a weariness that sleep doesn't touch, a kind of soul-level fatigue that comes from decades of performing strength. They've been running on survival mode for so long that their body forgot how to stop. Rest feels foreign, stillness feels suspicious, and they wonder why exhaustion follows them no matter how much they achieve. If you recognize yourself in any of this, know that what you feel isn't weakness. It's the echo of a child who should have been protected, but instead became the protector. And that child didn't disappear. They're still inside you, waiting for permission to finally rest. Carl Jung once wrote that the foundation of all inner turmoil is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. But for those who grew up too fast, the opposite is often true. They experienced too much, too early, and never had space to grieve it. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about no longer letting it silently run the present. You were never meant to carry that weight. And while you can't undo what happened, you can stop repeating it. You can choose softness. You can unlearn the belief that your worth depends on what you give. You can finally let that inner child be seen, not fixed, just held, not rescued, just witnessed. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before survival became your only language. You never had a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time you get to write it not through pressure, not through fear, but through truth. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. Not for the algorithm, but because sometimes healing begins with feeling understood, and you deserve that.